Julie, can you have Dan do roll call? He has to unmute himself.
You're just going to have to do roll call and I'll turn it off for you.
Okay. They're ready for it now.
Yep.
Dan Murphy?
Oh, wait, they're not asking yet. Can you hear this okay?
Yes. I'll probably unplug one of the hearing aids before it's over.
Hey, Dan, can you talk and say we did roll call?
Just say I'm here.
I'm here, Dan Murphy.
Oh, Julie, I'm not hearing him. We do see you, and we saw your assent with your nod.
So can you hear me, Catherine? No, hold on. Catherine?
Use this mic, the USB mic.
So we are not able to hear anything that the board has said, and I can't get Dan's audio to work. But he's here.
Yep, that one.
Okay.
You want your sound.
Yeah, I think I'm muted.
Okay, and you want to choose to do it under video.
We're almost there, guys. Sorry, technical stuff.
It should be good.
Okay.
Can you hear us out there? Freeman, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Here's the mic.
So we're really, this is
Might need to talk.
Exactly. No, that's
Oh, okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
fine. Say so.
Okay, does everyone want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can everybody hear me pretty good?
Yes.
So this is a listening session. Welcome, everyone. I am so glad there are so many people here to speak to us, and we do want to listen and hear you. The board will not be commenting or answering questions tonight. We will just be listening and take all of your comments into consideration for our board meeting on March 14th. And so we can start with, also each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. I don't actually know if we have a timer out, but
All time there.
okay.
Here's a list. And number 3, we need to cross off. Because she's not going to.
So I guess we're gonna start with Megan McCleary.
If she's on Zoom right now.
Zoom,
Okay, she's not on Zoom.
so we can come back to her. Emily Bottle,
Gettle. So before you.
Gettle, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to pause. So just so you know,
I don't think the mic is turned on, so just talk loudly, I
Oh,
guess.
just talk loudly. Thank you to our Butte Falls School community and board. I'm so happy to be able to have this listening session. I'm thankful that you have opened up the ability for us to come to the board and come as a collective source to bring to light issues and to open the door for free communication between those who make the decisions for our school and the people who follow the decisions. My husband, Evan, and I both work at the school. Evan is there daily, and I work at the elementary school a few times a week when needed. We are looking forward as a family to having masks optional, hopefully on March 12th, and are excited to see the faces on the children as they are learning. I'm also thankful that with an optional mask policy, that people can still wear the appropriate safety measures if they feel that is what is needed for them and their family. This has been a long 2 years, and I applaud the community and the board for being relentless in their commitment to our school district. There are definitely some issues that have arisen this year that need to be addressed. I am aware that there will be no decisions made tonight on these issues, but by bringing them up, you will know that a change needs to take place. For example, I believe our school needs stronger enforcement for disciplining students for behavior that is against policy. I believe that there is a leniency that is taking place in hopes that it will get better without further action. I believe that had we had quicker disciplinary actions for violators, there would have been no further action taken that puts other students in danger. I believe that the school board is in between a rock and a hard place with the decision to allow students to continue bad behavior and stay in school or move the student on and lose funding. What is the end goal for these students who act up? What is the end goal for the students who have to deal with this type of behavior? I had a conversation with a parole officer a few years ago, and the comment that was made to me that I still remember to this day is if you don't take care of it now, then the courts and the parole system will do it for you later. And that really hits home for me. As we look forward, I am invigorated by our sports that have been offered and the kids' involvement in the NRC. What an amazing opportunity for our children. Let's keep our chins up, keep moving forward, and teach our kids to look at the positive parts of life and help them persevere through hard times. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Okay, so next we have Chelsea Stevens. Are you here, Chelsea?
Chelsea is not joining us. She decided she just wanted to observe.
Okay. Cindy, Sefton, Perry, you are next.
So I emailed Dr. Long copies of the documents, so you guys can have a copy also. I am addressing you today in hopes to bring some attention to the current policy and request some changes regarding bullying at Butte Falls Charter School. I would like to see a change in the way that the teachers and staff are held accountable for what's happening on a daily basis in front of them. I know that there's no possible way to stop all bullying, but there are ways to make an impact on how bullies are being disciplined and how the school communicates with parents. Someone commented about my son being a bully. I do not think that my child is perfect. I know he is far from it. And this is something that we are continuously working on in our household. I try my best to lead by example and to show him how to be kind, but I'm not sitting here saying that my son shouldn't be in trouble if he's being bullied also. He absolutely should. If he's not held accountable for his actions, how will he learn from them? Which brings me to my next point. The discipline chart for the elementary school shows that the only repercussion for sexual harassment and bullying is detention. This is for first offense and every offense after, no matter the severity of the offense or how often it happens. There needs to be more severe consequences. The high school discipline chart shows that the first offense for sexual harassment and bullying is suspension. Right out of the gate. How can we expect a child to go from one place with essentially no consequences to a much more severe one? Isn't the point of elementary school to prepare our children for high school, to prepare them for adulthood, to prepare them to be a functioning member of society? Rather than telling them to get thicker skin, wouldn't it be better to teach our children to be kind? Just because bullying has been happening for a long time does not mean that it is right or that it should continue to happen. Children are people, they're fragile, and they have a lot of feelings and minimal coping skills because they are just kids still. Communication between the school and parents needs to change as well. I did have a meeting today with my son's teacher, and I'm fairly confident that that would not have happened if I had not started the petition, because in so many other instances, it hadn't happened before today. I am glad that there's a change happening just from one parent bringing it up, but communication needs to be the norm. I know that not all parents are going to care, and some students have issues in their home life that encourage bullying, but not all parents are like that. And how can we help at home to change this behavior if we're not being made aware of it? I've attached some discipline charts from other schools in the area of, for examples of what ours could look like. Multiple studies have shown that severe symptoms as a result of bullying that can lead to eating disorder, suicide, depression, anxiety, and paranoid thinking. And all of these are things that can be prevented. As a parent, I know from experience how bullying can affect children. I'm tired of seeing my baby cry. I'm tired of little girls not being able to eat at school because of fear they'll be made fun of. I'm tired of seeing posts about children taking their own lives because they can't handle the pain anymore. Something needs to change, and it needs to change now. Before another life is taken, before another kid brings a weapon to school because they feel helpless. In conclusion, I strongly urge the board to make changes regarding this policy and the disciplinary chart before it gets any worse.
Thank you.
Okay, so is the next on the list, Carrie Culver?
No, it's Greg.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Kind of in cursive a little bit. I'm sorry.
But you can carry on. But
Thank
can
you.
Carry on though.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So my name's Greg Culver, and my son is currently enrolled here at Butte Falls Charter. And thanks to the school being open, he has excelled this year, not only in mathematics, thanks to Mr. D and his determination in getting Colton through, but also he has excelled in playing the sports this year too, which was great. Not only did he excel his first year at football and actually help the football team win 4 games this year, but he also just took one district for middle school wrestling his very first year. So with that, he has put Butte Falls back in the spotlight of Southern Oregon. And that's something that this school needs, is a spotlight to bring back the 1A conference schooling and the academics and the sports, which is lacking in this school district. If we could keep going with this school academics, the NRC, and the sports, then all we have is greater horizons to achieve. And every kid needs to play a sport. And we need to have more options for sports out there than just middle school. High school really needs to bring up and step up and have sports for everybody. But the other thing that's also been a deterrent is the masks. And we all know the masks for the last 2 years has been an issue. And a lot of kids have had the attitudes because they haven't been able to be themselves. And frankly, that's where a lot of the bullying has come into place too, is because you can't see person's faces, you can't see their lips. My son has been involved in a couple of instances this year. One was a bullying. Dr. Long sat down with me and we took care of it. Mr. D and I took care of it too. So the communication between the front office and the teacher has been outstanding that way as far as what's going on. And the one thing I will say is that we can't jump to conclusions and automatically assume one is guilty without seeing the evidence. Evidence speaks words. And if we automatically punish a kid without seeing the evidence, then what are we teaching the kid? You're automatically guilty to proven innocent. It should be the other way around. Let's have the kids a chance to plead their case. Let's sit down. Let's look at the evidence before there's a punishment that takes place. If it's warranted for suspension for the first offense or second offense, or even a day off from school, then let's go that route. Let's just automatically send a kid home, because that doesn't do any good to a kid's attitude. And I really hope the school district adopts the new CDC guideline, which is removal of masks. State of Oregon is still the most restrictive state in the nation. So for our kids' sake and to keep our kids happy, let's remove the mask and let's make it optional, so everybody can see the smiles. Smiles is the most powerful medicine that the kids have.
And next on the list, I have the Pitts family. You can do it, Naomi. It's just us.
I'd like to stress to the board, and I feel the board, there's obviously a lot of issues in the district and in the community. And there's gonna be after that doing, trying to get the community back together. And I think this community, to be a strong community, the reason we all live here, needs a school. It needs it back. And if this school goes away, our community is gonna suffer indefinitely. The two things this community needs to get our community back is church and school. And all three of these things need to work together. The church needs to be able to go to the community and have community events at the school. The school needs to be able to have stuff in the community. It all needs to work together to build and break down the lines and walls between everyone. We used to have ice cream socials. We used to have barbecues, potlucks, fun stuff, brought parents in, was welcoming. You come here, you can't go out on the playground, someone drive a little late with kids in the car, can't go let their kids out run around the playground, can't go shoot hoops on the weekend, can't go throw a frisbee on the football field. That all needs to change. It needs to change fast. And I think the school board has the power to do that. And I realize there's mandates and regulations, and we could get sued for this. And you know what? If you're worried about taking accountability for your own health, you don't feel like you can be in the public, don't work in the public sector. It's all public sector. Churches, the community is, and the school is. And so I think everyone needs to take accountability for their own health, their own actions, protecting their own kids. And everyone's situation is different on that. Don't expect the school to protect the kids. Don't expect the community to protect the kids. That comes from parents. But I also think the school can start bridging the gap with that by opening up some doors and windows and let some things in and maybe have some events. And I would really encourage that, and I can see it. And part of that is like having maybe an open gym. Maybe we can do an open baseball game on Saturday when we're at the football field. You know, events, fun things, plan, let's get it done. And I think that is gonna happen. Without that, you're gonna have health issues with bullying and some of the other things are gonna happen. Communities will, you know. And that's what I can say.
Thank you, Riley. Okay, I have Bonnie Freeman next. Oh, Stephanie. Stephanie's going.
We get a double.
No, we got you. We got you.
No, just to kind of buffer this. So along with that is just allowing the gym at the high school to be utilized by the community. So not being afraid to open that up, or allowing someone responsible that's willing to take responsibility to be in charge of, like, I'm going to put up the gym on Saturday. And it doesn't have to be an educator or someone that works at the school. You know, we need to acknowledge if we put it out there, and allowing volunteers back into the schools. And I know COVID and the mandates have been on the board. I get it. I know there's restrictions and I know there's guidelines, but let's be creative. We are a charter school, so we can be a little bit more creative than the public school entity. So let's utilize that to our advantage. And then I know we're looking for a principal. I'm pretty funny when I say I'd love to see a principal with a military background. That's my 2 cents. Take it for a penny. But I think we need somebody that obviously is credible, that obviously is that meets the requirements for the position. However, you know, you're not a felony. I know you background check, but I would like to see someone that has some disciplinary training or background, because as we know, I just hear rumors, so I can't say anything concretely. My kids aren't in school, but there's a lot going on in that middle school age, and I think they were the kids that were most affected by this pulling out and distance delivery education. And those are the kids. I'm a middle school teacher by trade. That's when I got certified. And those are the kids that at that age need more on, they need on, not less on. They need the discipline. They're looking for that. They're looking for the boundaries, and they're not crossing. They're not there. So I'd love to see a principal. Really, I'd love to see a male principal. You know, I'm not afraid to say that.
You're cheating her turn, Riley.
And then I'm also looking forward to the masks being optional. And I heard today that it's now 12. So I think that's and I know you guys have a hard job, and I know it's a tough time, and I don't envy you because I've been there and I get it. And thanks for listening. Thanks for seeing us and sticking with it, and we're here for the kids. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Stephanie. Riley, you want to add something? Go ahead.
She got me going with another part that I forgot. Disciplinary actions. Used to have community service used to be big. Friday schools used to be big. That was one of the reasons we did Friday school.
I remember.
Was the trouble with kids. We had to be in service. Teachers had to work Fridays. That's the original reason we did it. And some kids had to do firewood for the older people in town. They helped out. There needs to be some repercussions like that instead of just sitting at home and nothing, or parents come working. I really believe it. I don't know how schools do that, but there's got to be ways. That's part of that creative thinking with service. The school, the community, and the church. And sometimes a lot of that can work between the two, where you can refer maybe to that church, and we can get them like, hey, we're going to do a Friday work program. This one, we're going to go help 5 people. And that's part of 3 entities working together. And it could be very awesome. I really encourage that. So part of it, and I want to talk quickly about the lawsuits. Self-employed, there's lawsuits out there, it's crazy. You're going to have people threatened. This and that, if somebody gets sick, I say, man, you guys can have some thick skin and strong backbones. That's why you have insurance. Because it's scary times are coming, and I was thinking, you've got certain families out there and people, and just bad things happen. And you can't just not look for the kids. You can't let loose the kids because you're scared you're going to get sued or scared of money. You guys are signed up for the loss of funding by shut schools down. And so that's a tough one. And so you can't just keep going, oh, we'll worry about funding, we'll worry about losses. At some point, you got to worry about the community.
Thank you, Riley. Okay, now we really do have Bonnie Freeman. We can take it, Bonnie.
Oh, hi, I'm Bonnie Freeman. Most of you know me. I have 2 kids that go to Butte Elementary and an alumni here. Thank you, Board, for allowing us to be able to do this. Today I'm also addressing the mask and vaccine. For the last 2 years, our kids have been muzzled and taught that their voices do not matter. They were told they just need to wear masks. They just need to get the vaccine. They just need to get the 17th booster. They just need to comply with what they're being told to do. Nobody has asked them about their feelings towards this or how these mandates have been affecting them. They must just comply and it'll all be over soon, is all they get. Adults keep saying they're fine. They're not fine. Obviously, this is why we're having so many issues with bullying, with communication, everything. How much longer are we just gonna sit back and wait for it to be over soon? How much longer are we going to silence our children, teach them that their opinion and their voice does not matter if it goes against a state mandate? How much longer are we just going to sit and wait for nothing to change? The mask guideline is supposed to be lifted on March 12th, but it was originally 31st. So why are we waiting any longer? We have been fooled once before. Remember the 2 weeks to slow the curve? And here we are 2 years later. Did you know that the CDC changed its recommendations on Friday that only masking places with high COVID transmission? Do you guys know what Jackson County is? We're high risk. So if we all of a sudden pull the mandates, what's gonna say they're not going to put them right back on a week later, 2 weeks later? The new OHA and OPE guidelines discriminate against unvaccinated students and employees. Fully vaccinated staff and students are not required to quarantine after an exposure, but a person that is an unvaxxed individual is required to quarantine for 5 days, followed by 5 days of masking. Please explain why the vaccinated people are getting special treatment. If you're vaccinated, you can still get and spread COVID, correct? So why is it even being considered? We abolished segregation years ago. All of this will continue if we don't stand against it. Several other districts have taken a stand. Why can't we? Our school still has children masked. Our school still had children masked for a couple months after the outdoor mask mandate was lifted. Most likely, we'd still be enforcing it, but it was brought up in the board meeting and our amazing board voted on it, and our kids are able to enjoy their recesses by them, mask free. So, the time to stand up is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Okay, so next I have Julie Barnes.
First of all, I want to say that coming from me, I am get rid of the masks. I think they're not. I think that we've gone through the roller coaster. We did what we were supposed to. Now it's up to everybody for personal responsibility at the end of the day. And I can understand the initial. I think the length of it was, a personal, not okay. I think we figured it all out. With that being said, I have dealt with my kid being not like he should be at school. And I've talked to the teachers, I've talked to Dr. Long, we've come up with some plans to handle it because I can't come to school, which I have done with 3 of my kids. I've always come to school when there's a problem. I spend a day or two, I come up with a plan with the teacher, and 90% of the time we resolved it in 2 days, and it has stopped. And so when I asked to do that, I wasn't allowed to. And my son now is on a longer process of communicating, setting up reward programs for my kid. I am not a coddling parent. I don't believe in a 100% reward system. I get why the school has to because they can't do corporal punishment. Well, I'm a mom, I can't. I can have them stack wood, I can have them weed whack, I can have them in timeout, I can take things away. So when I come to school and I can see what's happening and I can understand my kids to see where they're at and which kids or which adult is triggering that for them, I want to
Oh, wow, sorry about that.
Traumatized.
Scared me too.
I paused the timer and all that.
I want to be able to come in and support the teachers and the staff themselves because I realize their hands are tied. And I realize there are certain rules that they have to follow. But I know as a parent how to get to my kid. And if you can't allow me to come on the campus because of the mask thing, you're hurting my kid and you're hurting other students. And that's not fair. And it's not fair to the teachers to handle the youth and the kids because their hands are tied. And I am hoping some things have turned around, but Dr. Long and the teachers and I have talked about having a better structure and communication with the staff because I felt like the 6th and 7th graders had gotten together and it almost became bullying to the staff themselves, which is super easy to see happen.
Mhm.
I have seen it lots of times. You get one group of kids and then they all have this game type mentality. And that kid normally wouldn't do that. At home, that kid wouldn't do that, but all of a sudden his friends are buying and they're calling him out and he's gonna stand his ground. And then the teachers are hurt and the staff is hurt, and that's not okay. Or they're being disrespectful in general. So as far as the mask mandate, I think let them take it off so us parents can come to school and support you and see what you're seeing. Because you can tell us, and your kid tells us something else, and we want to find a middle ground, because we get it, we want you to succeed at teaching our kids like we. So I'm asking for that to be done, so some of that behavior stuff starts going away. And then I think you'll have parents stepping up to volunteer more because they're gonna see the need for that. They can see where it fits in. And then they become more unified. And then you're successful and our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Julie was the last person I had signed up to speak.
Is there anyone else?
Is there anybody else out here that wants to share with us? Yeah, just make sure to state your name.
So my name is Michelle Mahoney. I have a daughter who's new to school this year. And my very first experience after we transferred her was a little bit of disappointment. So as a new parent coming into the school district, really not familiar with the school layout or the classroom layout, I was not allowed to go back to the classroom where my daughter was going to be in class. It was a very put off feeling. It made me feel very hesitant to leave my daughter at a facility that I was unfamiliar with, and she was unfamiliar with. Thankfully, after about 45 minutes of waiting in the office, one of the other staff members who I had met through a scouting event actually had led me back to the classroom just so I could see where she was going to be. That's all I wanted. And it wasn't allowed because of the mandates, the masks, and the regulations and COVID. And I get it, but at the same time, if you're going to be welcoming new families into this district to generate funding for your schools, that is not a very welcoming first-time situation. So I just want you to be aware of that. I also very much agree with the community standpoint that this is a small town community, and no one kind of an outsider coming in. I lived in a small town, and I get that this is where family resides. This is where the community's heart basically grows and breathes and beats, is from the school outward. We have outside entities coming in and supporting that, such as the churches. But really, when you look at a small town, the heart of that community is at the school. It's the families that come to school. It's the families that live here. And those are the ones that have to buy into what the future of this district is going to look like. And if you are pushing them out by not allowing them to come in and take care of the disciplinary needs of their kids, or support the community events like the movie nights and the potlucks and that kind of stuff, you're not building community. You're creating a this and them mentality, and that is not going to work in a small town. It creates very much of it creates a purview of the community that is this and them and disjointed. And when you live in a small town, that is not the feeling that you want to have when you're attending school or trying to go to church. I appreciate the fact that Butte Falls is a small town, and that's one of the reasons that we chose this district when I was looking at my options. I wanted the small town feel. I wanted the small school. There's more opportunities here. I have a fifth grader. If we were in Medford, there's no way she would have been able to play volleyball unless I was paying for it. There's no way she would have been able to participate in playing basketball unless I was paying for it and trying to fit that into our otherwise already busy schedule. So of course the focus should be on the kids. It should be about the families. It shouldn't be creating this disconnect and this, oh, well, we have to follow these rules and these regulations. That's not what a charter school is. You guys are able to set some of those policies and those procedures to allow for a little bit more flexibility, and I hope you consider doing that.
Amen.
Okay. I got Kristen's name.
Wright. I have 3 kids that go to the elementary school. I kind of want to focus on the sports. My main thing is we're trying to build our community back up. Sports is huge, not only for these kids. Some of them don't have a great home life, and sports is where they get that. They go to school to get away from their home life. They do sports to get away from their home life. It gives them a good feeling. I was a little disappointed when we had to have 2 passes per player. I have a family of 7. So what were my husband and I supposed to do? Leave our 4 kids in the truck because we couldn't have them come to the game? That's not fair, especially when we're going to other schools and they weren't doing that. They weren't wearing the masks. They weren't pushing people in the community away. They were bringing them in because this is huge. I understand there's mandates. I understand there's fines, which brings me to my next point. I have spoken with several other schools who have been fined. And I know that was a huge outline for you guys to say, you know, you have to wear the masks. We can only have so many people. The fine was $300 for that school. If you guys need help paying that, I am happy to do it. Let's bring in the community and help these kids succeed and have a great season and a great year and want to keep going.
Anybody else want to speak? Okay, Kevin, go ahead.
First of all, I just heard about this, so I really don't got a whole lot to say. Well, I got a whole lot to say, I just didn't have time to put it together. So
That's okay.
I'm just gonna say this whole mask thing, it's a waste of time. It's only hurting the kids more than it actually helps the kids. Those kids wearing a mask 8 hours all day collects the germs more than it actually stops the virus from coming in. That virus is harmless to kids more than to the adults. And then second, I'm gonna put out that if you guys need help paying for whatever she said,
Fine.
take it out of my paycheck, I don't care. And like I said, I have a whole lot to say, I'm already fine. What?
You can see the community back together. Be good to see you.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's knocked out too, yeah. Ever since I graduated, this place turned into a ghost town. Including the school. I'm not happy with the school at all right now. Anyways, I'm gonna go because I have a lot to say, but there's so much I can't think of right now. I'm getting too shaky.
Hey, you know what, Kevin? If you want, just write it down, send it on to him, or hand it to one of us and we'll share it with everyone. Your thoughts, write it down.
I didn't hear you.
Write down your thoughts, share it with Dr. Long, hand it to a board member. We'll make sure everybody sees it. Once you pull it together.
I'll be respectful about this. I just been gathering information. It's just all of a sudden hit.
Thank you, Kevin. Stephanie, go again.
Well, you got how many kids with you there? No. Please.
No, I just had no, yeah, but I know that NRC is such a blessing and we work so hard to make that happen. And I haven't been down with glad that the pavilion is up. I don't know if it's ready to be used, but I just love to see a super major like drive and connection of our curriculum to the NRC. And I know that there's this that needs to happen, this that needs to happen, and this, but like our kids are good sitting on the lawn. Like, so just really just would love to see that curriculum beefed up so that we are actually a natural resource center in the school.
You can go, Steve.
You know those guys?
I do know that guy.
I would stress parent involvement. It seems like you have a lot of remote time, energy and resources, so. There's a way to manage that. To remove the fences around the school, I think our basketball team could benefit from the ability to practice.
Yeah.
Aside from the official practice times and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's cameras up here, so it's face probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to encourage the church participation, that's good. But a lot of these problems we're seeing next to our home. And so whatever we can do to encourage other community as a whole. So like Kevin, I think there's a lot more I can say. Anyways.
Emily, go again.
You're the board chair.
I'm gonna let Emily go again.
Talking for Evan now.
Okay, so we'll say it's Evan.
No, I just wanted to say that when this came up as an option of a listening session, and we had some other school board members bring up concerns of needing police force here during this, I just want to say that I'm really impressed with the amount of respect that you all have shown the school board. And I was really hoping we would show them wrong, that we wouldn't need something like that. We wouldn't need something because we're better than our base of anger, or we can all have an intelligent conversation. And I'm just really, I think it's great.
It is great.
Good job, guys.
Are we commenting at all, or?
Let's let people talk until they're done talking, and then if you each want to make a comment, it's not a decision-making meeting, but you certainly at that point would probably be helpful.
I'm fine with any comments. Bonnie, do you have something else to say?
Bonnie, could you come over here? That way people zooming in can hear you. You're a YouTube star. Yes.
I am still Bonnie Freeman. I'm just making some notes along with what others were saying. When the bullying was brought up quite a bit, and it does need to be addressed huge. But just in agreement of the lack of communication to the parents. My daughter early on in the school year actually had an issue where she was being bullied. I didn't know about it. I wasn't notified about it. I'm a very involved mother. And I know all of you who are here now, you're all involved parents. I would love to be the first person to be on that list. Call me. I'll leave work and come over right now. I'm 2 minutes away. Anyways, I'd like to see more communication to the parents, especially if it is specifically involving their child. And then volunteering, that I believe has always been a huge part of our school district. And, with the whole COVID fear, there's no voluntary allowed at all. I'd really like to see the voluntary come back because, I was a part of the parents club. Yep. And we hosted a huge fall carnival that had numerous kids. We didn't just raise more money for the next year's fund, but every single person that was in that gym was smiling ear to ear. Every single person in that gym felt normal and was having fun at a children's carnival. We need more of that community involvement. The talent show, yes. We didn't even get a Christmas program this year. I got an email from my son's kindergarten teacher, and I got to watch him sing a song. And that's not what our small town community is. youth groups, you know, we keep bringing up the church, we keep bringing up the bullying, but nobody's done anything to how do we fix this? How do we fix this? When I was in school, we had youth groups we could go to. We had peer mentoring where we went through, us students went through a class in junior high and high school, and we became peer mentors to our fellow students around us that they had a safe place to talk to. I feel like a lot of these kids that are getting bullied or that are having issues, they don't have a person to talk to. They're not going to want to go, you know, to Miss Howe, nothing at all against her, but she is the disciplinarian. She's the one that you go to when you're in trouble. They're not going to be open to going to her and talking to her. She's the one that they go to when they're in trouble. They need people that they are comfortable, completely comfortable talking to. And, you know, if there's anything that I can do to help that, I will absolutely help. But the peer mentoring when I was in school, it was huge, and it was very beneficial.
There are no more comments. I think we will-
Stephanie Pitts, you're up again.
I am.
No.
No, I was waiting to make sure we don't have anyone else. Robin, go ahead.
I wasn't really planning to say anything, but I know that with the 6th and 7th graders, we have a lot that gets brought up when it comes to communication, respect in the classroom, respect for their peers, and honestly, respect for themselves. So a suggestion that I would
No.
A suggestion that I would like to make is if and when policies do change as far as discipline, I think that's something that may help out just from interacting with these students is an assembly. Now, anti-bullying assemblies can sound very, I hate to use this word, but lame to a kid that age in all reality. So I think if we could reword it and do something that's more like team building, teach these kids how to work together, how to have respect for themselves and how to want a positive outcome for something. And maybe that's something that can help them move forward in their behavior and their self-respect. And I think that we can, most of us can probably agree that a lot of bullying does come from a lack of self-respect. And that's the person, the student that is bullying others. When they're having a difficult time in fear, they're pressing it out and they're pushing it on to other kids. So maybe we can build up their confidence with something like team building or more activities in the school that could be something that.
Really, she does.
She's whispered over here, right here.
You're using the other people's 3 minutes.
It's probably something that I can say that we're here and we're open, but rumors. So you hear a lot of rumors. So I'm just asking the board to investigate rumors about a particular employee. I'm just hearing rumors that with, and I'm involved with the basketball coach. My girls played and they had phenomenal season. The coaches were. I think that was really the first push of getting the team back together. It was fun for the parents, it was fun for the kids. And I know there were some issues with the AD, so I would just like to look into if everything's going good.
Thank you, Stephanie.
My name's Cody. I graduated from Butte Falls in 2010. I also graduated from Butte Falls. In my eyes, when I was in school, I've seen it. Football games, they had boom trucks over the football fields, 200, 300, 400 people in our football games. And that's what brought this town together, was the community. But we didn't just involve it in sports. We had team workouts that were open to everyone. We had the Gary Rogers in our stands, who's 70 years old, but allowed to attend our games. Never missed a single high school sport event my whole childhood. I started in Butte Falls in 4th grade. We did the ice cream socials. We had the movies in the parks. We hosted softball games on the weekend for the parents. It was a community event. Once I graduated, I moved up north. One of my friends that graduated moved away. We had kids. Loved the Butte Falls town. The reason we moved that was because of the school in the community. I moved back 2 years ago, and it's been a major disappointment. Not so much of the school before the pandemic, it was just the sports program in the community. Nobody did anything. I created brothers, Chase, Josh Upton that's out there, Marley, Mo, all that generation from when I was in school, talking every single day, lifelong brothers. I'd like to see the community come back, because I brought my daughter come back to the school to grow up the way I did. And so far, it's been a major, major disappointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase.
My name's Chase Ellis. And the thing that I think of what all these points are fantastic points, and I just want to say that I think all of them are too much harder than it's already been. The one thing I will say is, growing up in Butte Falls, the school, both the high school and the elementary school, they were a part of the community more so than just like the school donating all this stuff, putting together all these things. As a kid, you could literally walk off from my grandparents' house and come and play at the playground. It wasn't just a building that was fenced in and off limits to use. You would go and play basketball. We would dunk on the equipment, or we would go and run on slides and go back. At the high school, we'd go play football outside. We'd go play kickball or whatnot. It was more than just where you went to school. It was part of the community, literally in the sense that you could go there whenever. The fact that it's locked down, I understand the word, I understand the policy. But I think at this point in the game, we can probably step past those policies and we can reopen it up for it. And I think that's going to be a huge help for the kids. It's just it's a bummer when we got the park and the park playground free for everyone, but then we can't go to our district. Facilities should be open for kids. And I don't feel like we could be, as adults, complain about kids being on their screens and playing video games and locked with outside facilities that are like nothing.
Thank you, Chase. Okay, so if we don't have anyone else that wants to comment, I seriously appreciate how many people have been commenting and how respectful everyone was. So thank you. Do we have board comments?
Well, I heard everything you guys said tonight. I think the board heard everything you guys said tonight. Coming out of this thing that we've all been in for the last 2 years, tonight was a proposal at our board's last meeting to a couple meetings to start coming out of this COVID debacle. It's been a scourge on all of our lives in so many different ways, but when it comes to a school and your children, I wholeheartedly agree with all the different comments about community and belonging and freedom and all of those things. I just wanted to say this meeting was the first step to try to get back to normal. To have a forum and open it up to people to be able to come voice your concerns, your opinions, your thoughts. And even that was met with some resistance. I would encourage each and every one of you to tell whoever else in this community that wants to get involved and to see what's going on. I'm sitting here, I've been on this board a long time. As one of you, I was there. I've been on this board at the volunteer position. And quite frankly, we haven't had very much participation at our meetings, even before COVID. So get involved. It's great you guys showed up. I really appreciate that. There are some things that I see that maybe I should have seen before, but I never knew we had fences in front of the elementary until a couple of weeks ago. My wife and I drove by it. So I'm not gonna ditz on our management here. I should be more aware of all the ins and outs. I didn't know that if you dropped your kid off being brand new here, you had to let him go and you couldn't go see him. That's bullshit in my opinion. So we don't need, I'm not here to get applause. I'm just here to say my opinion as a board member. The freedoms need to be brought back. I'm a little older than the Cody and the Harley and Chase group. I went to school here too. And I can remember running around all these places. And one of the first restrictions I remember seeing was when they fenced off the football field. I used to go out there and light up fireworks in the off time. I mean, we played out there. So maybe coming out of this huge debacle that in my opinion, our government put on us, we can start doing what Riley and some of you guys are talking about, is come back together as a community, start trying to gain more of our freedoms back and encourage our kids. Yes, Cody, get them out. Yes, Chase, let's get them back out on public land, public property. You know, there's another facet of this that is not just in this town, but it's our community. And another thing that I have, and I might be going off topic here, but you can't, we're getting locked out of our woods as well. There's more and more gates everywhere you go. And so how do we, encourage people to be part of the Natural Resource Center? How do we encourage them to go out the open chain? They shut down the gun range, they shut down. It's just, we're just getting pinched on so many different levels. It's up to us. It's up to you guys. It's up to the parents to encourage your kids to get out there, enjoy the community, which our community is a natural resource big center, not just the fish hatchery, but all of it here. So the mask thing, I would speak to Bonnie and all that. I'm watching too, and I personally believe if March 12th comes and it's not a full-on turn it off and let's go back to normal, I don't know. I guess I better watch what I say, but it should just be over. It should be over. And let's just hope that it is. So.
Thank you, Aaron. Good, Mark.
So I want to thank everyone that did come up with the guts to come up and speak up and voice your concerns. I share the same concerns that pretty much all of you had. So the feedback from the community is very important for us as a board to get through our duties and our responsibilities. And so the more feedback we get, the easier it is. And so I just want to thank everyone that did come and that did speak up. As far as Aaron touched on a few things. There's stuff that the board, we're probably not even aware that you as parents are aware of. Except for Katie, I don't believe none of the other board members have students in this school. So with that being said, I would encourage parents to run for school board positions. And
Are there any positions coming available?
I don't know.
I think it's like a year or two, so you'll have to wait a little bit.
There's turnover.
There will be
turnovers every couple of years, so. So if I used to have kids in the school and I thought I had a pretty good radar on what was going on. I don't have any kids in the school now. And so a lot of stuff, like Aaron said, are surprises. So please come forward, please let us know and show up at meetings and speak your mind like you guys did tonight. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
You're the board chair.
I just think tonight went really great. I really appreciate everyone's input, and I just think this was amazing, and we should do it again very soon. So, that's it. That's all I have. I had that thought. I wasn't going to say it out loud.
Every meeting it's open except for these last 2 years.
Via Zoom. So I think once the masks go away, the restrictions are lightened. We used to hold our meetings over at the district office, and anybody that wanted to come comment could. It was usually just staff members that showed up, but
No, we
this
had-
turnout is amazing. We
had
would
parent-
other.
Yeah, we had a
yes.
couple, 3.
Yes.
What's that? We had parents come in. What's that?
It's coming. That is coming for the state stuff, so.
Yes.
We.
Yes.
I think that used to.
Several
We
years
used
ago,
to,
we had a
yes.
student rep come to our meetings.
Yes, we did.
There, it's all public. It's all
Hold on.
open. You guys can, anybody can come. Let's just set aside COVID aside for a second. Every month, there's a public, it's in our placeholder to have public comment on every month's board meeting.
You're Mackenzie, right? Michelle, sorry.
Yeah.
If it's not there, you don't know what you don't know, so if it's not available, you're not gonna know what's available.
Yeah, it's available. We've always had, it's always available. And then we've had different things like the senior trip would come and ask for approval from the board for the funding or whatever. They would come for, there was another committee, like a morale committee, and a bunch of the students got together and they came and briefed the board. So the board is merely 4 or 5 people helping facilitate, run the school. The students, if they have a topic or something new and exciting they want to share with the board, they can put it on the agenda. They can show up, brief us, show us what they're doing, all those different things.
I'll look into it a little more, but yeah, basically they would just talk to Dr. Long, Julie, to come present and make sure they stayed like on topic, because there's things we can't talk about in board meetings, so.
You guys have some great boards out front too that are so valuable to the community, know what's going on in the school. And anything you try to use to communicate to the community is right there. It's awesome. As you guys do things and bring the community back.
Thank you, Riley. Sports banquet.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that could be done. They have been done. You know, the template for a lot of the things that we all talked about tonight are either have been done in the past or could be done easily in the future. It just takes parental involvement, you know? We got, as an example, when my kids were going here, we went and got a couple log truck loads of wood and we had the wrestlers split it. And the fathers and the mothers came out, the parents, and we split it and we sold it. And they took that money, didn't even need board approval. They took that money and it paid for their hotels, their jerseys. We grew that program from parents, not from the school. We had school support, but we basically started a wrestling program from thin air. And we eventually got, you know, parent or school approval, but those kind of things, it starts with banquets, it starts with fundraisers, it starts with you guys showing up here saying, we want our sports back. I want our sports back.
I was watching the school's website to see if there was a position open for the volleyball coach. And then they canceled the world season without posting the position, the middle school girls. So we ended up having to keep the middle school girls volleyball. We only got 3 kids in the art. So I think that when there's a position, there's very much the community is community. There are parents, there are people in the community that will step up to do that, but we can't do that if we don't really let us make it. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Well, and
You know, here's what I can tell you. Remember the date was March 31st, and then it was March 19th, and now it's March 11th or 12th. The part of the fun thing I do, aside from being here, is I attend these meetings with the state and the county officials, help people. And they're going to give us some guidance this week as to how quickly it opens up. And we need parents back. I mean, the whole thing about a school is, there are kids, and I wasn't there when they were conceived, right? So they just come to us, right? They're your kids, okay? But it's a partnership. It's not about us giving us your kids and then we do stuff with them. It's a partnership. COVID and all those restrictions has really disrupted that and disconnected it. And you know, we've had some families leave over the COVID thing. We've had some families actually move out of state. Okay, I mean, so there's this tremendous swirl that's going on, and we're all trying to figure out where's the balance in this. Well, what you're talking about and what's happening here is how we get back to balance. And so getting volunteers back in the school is going to be important. You need to understand people are kind of dysregulated through all this. And so we have to have some mercy for each other as we get back in there, because there's hard stuff that's going on in families. And that's the challenge for me. And I want to give you an example. Why is that fence out there? We are going to have a fence out there when we're all done, but we can't have our gates closed when school's out of session. We need for people to come on our campus. It's because we live in a day and age now where people show up and they snatch kids out of rooms, or where kids come in and that's all it's about. But we need to have a place that kids can be safe, that kids don't, we have a few kids who are runners, that we can keep kids safe when they're here. But once school's over, and when I was in Medford, this was the policy: gates open, community in, because bad stuff doesn't happen, vandalism doesn't happen when people are around. So we just have been knocked off our balance the last couple of years because of other factors telling us, well, you know, what we can do and how we fund this. And what I will tell you is, I don't think if this is just about getting kids for money, then this school shouldn't be open. It shouldn't be. It's not about that. It's about this community having a healthy school and, you know, healthy institutions like churches that are growing and helping people, and partnerships with like the Landing, and the city comes along and supports that, because that is what weaves together the supports that kids have. Not every kid's going to connect with school. Not every kid's going to connect with sports or with church. But if you have enough partnerships and people working together, then it's a healthy place. Families want to move here. We have families moving back here. So what I will tell you is this: A superintendent's role is that of a steward. I'm not the person who calls the shots, but I do advise the board because I know the school business part of it. But ultimately, the school has to reflect what the community needs for their kids. And where I have issues, and some of you heard me say this, I am totally opposed to doing educational things for political reasons. But I totally recognize that we sometimes have to do political things for educational reasons if we're talking about helping parents coming alongside them and raise their kids to be adults. Because I'm sorry, you're not raising kids, you're raising adults. And so when you had that decision and that child was conceived, what you didn't know is that you made the decision to have your heart walking around outside your body, and it's your job to protect your heart. When we work against that, when you show up as a new family with a new student, and for some reason, someone, for whatever fearful reason or understanding says no, as opposed to saying, if we couldn't let people come in, my response would be, can we arrange a time for you to come meet the teacher? That's what you needed. And I'm delighted your daughter's here, by the way, and it's been fun to see her playing sports and all that. So that comes down to, as I look around, some of you I don't know very well, some of you I know pretty well, but what I'm concerned about is this isn't about who's on the school board or who your superintendent is if the community's not connected to the school, okay? Because it'll just be this institution that's here. I have a few more years that I really like to serve this community, but I know that if we don't rebuild some partnerships and work together, it doesn't matter who your superintendent is. So I'm going to throw one out for you to think about. We have this asset, which is the old fish hatchery. And we have continued to work on that piece to move it forward. Sometime the end of March, we have a need for a group of parents and kids in sort of an organized fashion like locusts to descend on that facility and pick up all the debris that fell in the winter, because after March 31st, there are a bunch of things that are going to happen on that campus for kids and for our community. We're going to need to have an open house, and we want to end up there. That is not our school, but it is a tangible, it's been a place we could take kids and get their masks off. Okay? I mean, it's been a sanctuary, and the potential for that as a way to attract other things that this community can do that aren't school related is phenomenal. Could you imagine having concerts there? Could you imagine people coming up and the ladies taking a quilting class for a week or something, or a sewing class, because we have a culinary arts place that also is a textile classroom. We're getting a grant to get sewing machines, by the way. There are things that are doing stuff with your hands alongside people that bring ages together, we're so discombobulated as a society. You know, part of the challenge for the 6th and 7th grade or whatever grade is kids are really isolated right now. So if you want to know where I am on this, I am going to always try to advise the board to not do something that causes us to have to pay a lot of money to people who probably don't need the money, but takes away from what we can do for kids. But I watched what happened when the open chain firework came through here. And people who didn't really talk to each other helped each other. Because what I've learned is when it gets tough, people come together. So we're going to be inviting not only families, but other people in our community into our schools over the next months. Let's do it strategically. Let's don't just impose things that we're going to do. So let's think about how we can do that so that kids see adults who probably even politically we're not aligned with each other, but if it's about kids and families, that is where our hearts are. That'll make the difference. And that's beyond me. A few more years, if this works out for me, I still am going to have to leave, right? Your school is going to be here, and I want to leave it better than I found it. And I think you want to be able to attract leadership here who will value that. So thank you for coming tonight. And as Emily said, thank you for being yourselves, which was you behave yourselves, of course. I appreciate that. Please.
Kristen.
Yes.
We've had 2 years of missed sports. If we word out to the kids that we are having sports, I think we have a great turnout.
Yeah.
I have spoken to the AD about this sports, and
that word out and let these kids know that yes, we are in fact having sports, we do want you, regardless if we want you to come out. Like Billy said, our basketball team, there were so many kids that have never played.
Right.
You can see.
Was that amazing? Yeah, it was amazing. So here. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
There's a lot of avenues you can play with that in college sports program. I was in school, our coach pulled our grades once a week. You had bad grades, you didn't play, you ran your butts off. You got in trouble in school, Jean's office was right there, she yelled at the coach, she's up here, she comes out of your coach, you ran that whole practice, that was your punishment. Used to regulate something that mess with the whole team, that whole team.
So we have something really remarkable that happened this year. As frustrated as some of the behaviors with our middle school kids have been, we've had some really great sports experiences for them. That is about the future of that high school. And we need to come alongside those kids and not just be upset if they're trying to figure out who they are, but help them grow up. So thank you. That's not listening anymore. That's speaking. We came here to listen.
Your kids get bullied by others, they're having fun in the same sports program.
Yep.
You won't tolerate it. Part of that is alerting the kids, advising the kids, coaching the kids, parents stepping up and showing them, being a part.
Yeah.
That's how we get a powerful sports program.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, you guys. This was amazing. We promise, hopefully, we'll do this again soon. I can't promise that, but.
Well, when we can get some people to come on campus, we can do some other things too. We can have like a principal's coffee. We can talk with people during the day and other times too. So thank you for coming. Be safe. I would ask one thing, you can help me out. Otherwise, I'm doing it by myself. If